Eden Hazard, but as much as we're going to talk about Varane and he'll get the headlines, Hazard again, just nothing.
Yeah, and yesterday when we were previewing the match, we highlighted Eden Hazard as a guy who needed to have a huge performance if Real Madrid was going to go into Manchester and score a couple of goals and win the game. Because you sort of know what you're going to get from Karim Benzema, who again was very good today. But you need somebody else to provide a balance, to provide another threat. So if, in fact, you get the best of Eden Hazard, then Karim Benzema, you would assume, would have more space or would have more freedom to do the things that he does best inside the 18-yard box. But because there is very little coming from Eden Hazard, then a lot easier to zero in Karim Benzema. And even then, he still has some opportunities. But going back to Eden Hazard, once again, this is no different than what we have seen from him pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, pre-shutdown, post-shutdown. Whatever you think is wrong with him, whether it's fitness, whether it's emotionally, whether psychologically he's not quite there, or if it's a combination of them all I can tell you is that this is not even the shadow of the player that we have seen with Chelsea in the past, that we have seen with Belgium in the past, tentative with the ball at his feet. He has a couple of moments in the game in which you think, oh, maybe he's going to have an impact. And then he just kind of disappears. The light just goes off. And you just cannot have that happen for a guy who you know you're going to lean on. Remember who Eden Hazard is taking the place on in this team, whether it was a year later or not. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. And whether he wants to acknowledge that or not, who knows? And who cares? But the truth is that he's taking that position. And he's not given anywhere near that productivity or anywhere near the impact that Real Madrid needs out of that position.
These are the sort of games you want your stars to rise in, and he didn't at all, Don, and he hasn't all season. He's been a big bust so far.
Well, he has, but I mean, he did have a horrific injury that he had to deal with. What I would say is if I was going to give Eden Hazard any sort of out, I thought Kyle Walker, who played against him, was tremendous. I thought one of his best games in the City shirt. But you expect a lot more. Even when the ball's at his feet, he didn't look sharp. He had a good little spell, first 10, 15 minutes with a lot of the ball. Maybe playing on the left-hand side didn't really suit him. Maybe Zidane might try and use him as a number 10 because he doesn't seem to want to stay there. And if it's not coming off for him, he's not really got any wriggle room to try and affect the game. You can easily mark someone like him out the game if you've got someone like Kyle Walker playing against you. But I think you're right. I think we have to give Eden Hazard a little bit of time. I don't think we can criticise him too much. I think because of the injury that he's had, I think it's very unfair to shift everything onto him tonight. Yes, we're looking at the star players you want them to shine, but I thought there was far more players playing for Man City that shone more than Real Madrid players.
Well, it's interesting. Don brings up Manchester City, Shaq. I didn't think they were that good today either. There were errors there as well. They weren't very good in front of goal. Raheem Sterling, I think, could have scored more. This was nowhere near their best performance.
No, it wasn't. Listen, as poor as Real Madrid were at the back, I don't feel City did an incredible amount in terms of really putting them under pressure. And yes, as I mentioned before, Courtois had to make a couple of saves. But it's not, and to be fair, it hasn't been the City we've come to expect ever since the restart. At times they've been brilliant, at times they've been poor, and at times it seems like as though they've struggled for ideas. And that's what you saw today. As quickly as they moved the ball and threatened to look like their former selves, I thought Real Madrid were equal to it and frustrated City for long spells. Maybe you could say the fact that they got the goals means that they now don't have to take some of the chances. They can sit back and make sure and keep things tight at the back. But all in all, I don't think they were at their brilliant best.
City were winning today.
Dan, sorry, the game that I watched, I thought at times the game was too easy for Man City. I thought when they had it in the first half, I was expecting a lot more from Real Madrid, and I'm pretty sure the Man City players were as well. And the game become too easy. I mean, I can remember Raheem Sterling getting in with a jinky little run and he lost his balance. I remember Gundogan having an absolute tap-in, I think, in the second half, and he played a little ball to Raheem Sterling that was overhit. At times, Man City thought this was too easy, and they were just trying to walk the ball in the back of the net.
But that's got to be an issue because that's not the first time we've seen that from Manchester City, Don.
No,
they
but I
should have
think,
been home and hosed, really. Real Madrid weren't good
Yeah.
today. Benzema was the only one who really stood up and did anything. Yet, in the end, Real Madrid still had that chance until, of course, Gabriel Jesus scored. And then if Real Madrid had got a couple more, then we could have a different story. But the thing is, if I'm going forward as a Manchester City fan, I'm concerned that they are not as convincing as I want them to be in front of goal.
I think that's a fair comment, and I think if you ask Pep, he always leans on that side, doesn't he? When you ever ask him when his team have not walloped someone or have lost a game, he never says, "Oh, the defenders made individual mistakes or the defenders played poorly." He'll always say, "We didn't score enough goals. We create so many chances, we're not scoring enough goals," and that's great. You know, if you're a City fan, if you're a City player, and the manager is criticising your front men, it's a nice problem to have. I understand that when they are deep into the competition, they come up against the very best sides. I totally understand it. You have to be ruthless because one goal might just be enough. But the way Man City play and the game that I watched tonight, especially in the first 45 minutes, I was actually watching the game thinking Man City are coasting here.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.